Record. Hello, Paige, otherwise AKA Main. Dave here from AMnplify.
How you going?
I'm good. Where are you? Where you calling from?
I'm currently in Adelaide, South Australia, just in my bedroom at the moment, to be honest.
Adelaide, South Australia. I know Adelaide. I had a girlfriend over there a few years back. She lived in where did she live? She lived in, I think the parents were in Melbourne and she was in like a suburb beside it or something. I can't even remember what the suburb was called, but it was cool. Adelaide's a cool place.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm sort of towards the beach, which is, never a bad place to be.
Never a bad. So you're near which beach?
Henley Beach.
Henley Beach. They've done
Yeah.
a few songs about the old Henley Beach, I think, from memory.
Yeah, I think they
Probably
might
well before your time.
be.
All right, so let's start down a path and see where it leads us.
Beautiful.
How's that? All right. So,
Great.
have you always wanted to be a musician? Is this something that you just? Having said that, you look like you're 9.5. By the way, you don't look like you're 67. So, have you always, in that long life of yours, have you always wanted to be a musician?
Yeah, I mean, music's always been a part of my life. Growing up, but to be honest, when I first started out, I actually was a swimmer, and that was sort of my passion, was sport. And when I quit, I just sort of burnt out from the sport.
Yeah.
I turned to music and I started playing guitar at the age of 16. So I guess from there.
What led to that? What led to picking up a guitar at 16?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of random. Like, my brother had an old classical guitar, and he was collecting dust because he stopped playing that. And I just looked at it one day and I just had a little play around on it, and I actually learned a Taylor Swift song. Was the first song I learned on guitar, and
Okay.
because she was who I was listening to at the time. And I just started playing, and it was just like a really random sort of thing to start doing. But I started singing in front of like my family and friends, and they told me I was good, but like I didn't know if they were just being biased.
Yeah.
And then eventually I played in front of my music teacher in school, and she got me to play in front of like the whole class, and then a concert at school. And yeah, it just kind of developed from there. And then I did year 12 music, and I did songwriting through year 12, as well as the performance aspect. And then I went on to study a Bachelor of Media Arts at UniSA, and I did a lot of music and like sound engineering, a little bit of all the aspects of the useful tools that to have when you're a musician. And yeah, just really I guess latched onto it and found a real passion for it and really enjoyed it, and here I am.
Were you performing all the way through that? Or
Yeah, well,
you went to uni, you stopped, or SA, you stopped, and then you
yeah,
got.
well, I mean, I started out doing like cover gigs. I think it was like my first year of uni. I was doing cover gigs at like pubs and back in my hometown, which is about 2.5 hours north of Adelaide. And then I started doing a few in Adelaide.
What's it called? What's it called? The hometown?
Port Pirie.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. And so I went, yeah, and then when I was at uni, like obviously I was around a lot of sort of like-minded individuals and creatives that also were into music, and met people through that and started writing more of my own music. And yeah, just sort of naturally progressed into meeting people that were in the industry that were really encouraging or doing the same thing or inspiring me to do what they were doing and follow in their footsteps. So I think it was just like a really natural sort of progression, and it was definitely something I wasn't intending to stop doing. Like I was constantly sort of building, I guess, on the skills I was developing since I sort of started, learning, teaching myself guitar. And yeah, it's just been a big part of my life for a long time now, and it's yeah, I don't know what I'd do other than music anymore. But
when did you start playing outside Adelaide?
so it was probably in, I think 16 or 15, I think 16. I was releasing music just under my name Paige at the time, and I did a few shows in Victoria with some friends, and Sydney, and back in Adelaide, and did just like a little West Coast tour like a few times a year. And then when I guess when I changed, my artist name to Main and was releasing music under the moniker of that, I started, I guess, taking it a little even more seriously and really finding my sound. And I went on like my first tour as Main in 2017, and again it was sort of just like Adelaide, Sydney, and Melbourne at the time. And then things started picking up, and some more opportunities were coming through around like 2018, 2019, and jumped on bigger tours as a support act and things like that. So but I guess 2016 was sort of the first tour I think I did.
When did you do the Kooks?
That was in the end of 2019, I believe, or the end of 2019.
Been a good one.
I played a festival with them in Adelaide down at Glenelg, actually.
Yeah, on the water, down the beach. Youngblood.
Yeah, so that one I played back in, that was 2018, I believe. I'm getting, time is a blur.
No, that's cool. So you've played with these and Matt and Ballpark. I see you've done that. Matt would have been pretty cool. He's a good guy.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite tour I've been on at the moment. In 2019, in April, I went across New Zealand with him and supported his shows in these amazing theaters that I was just so humbled to play those venues because they were just beautiful. And obviously it's really nice to play big venues and share your music with another person's audience, really.
Yeah, he's a great performer and a great guy. So that was cool.
Yeah, very, very cool, that one.
How would you describe your sound?
I think it's always a hard one, but I guess the way I would describe my sound is it's kind of guttural, I think, the way I sing, and it's it's emotional and anthemic, and I like to layer like darker themes or things I've gone through with like a more, I guess, uplifting sound, which you could lean into the sadness, but I like to sort of pair it with big anthems around whatever I'm singing about or talking about.
Yeah, cool. And the LGBTQIA plus connection.
Yes, I am a queer artist myself. So
that's all right. Well, we're in Sydney here, and I'm in Surrey Hills, and they've got all the signs up outside for the next few days, so it's going to be bedlam here.
Be noisy.
But it's when did you have you always? Oh well, if it's not difficult or anything. When did you come out? Were you always out? Or
no. So I sort of discovered sort of that part of myself after high school. And other people I know that also shared the similar journey to me, and realized that and slowly come to terms with it myself, and was figuring it out. And that was probably like 2015. I think I came out to my mum at least then, and a few friends, and just slowly sort of, I didn't really have like a big moment where I was like, hey everyone, this is who I am. It was just sort of like, this is my partner, they are also female, take it or leave it kind of thing. So it wasn't like it definitely wasn't, like a big thing for me. There was definitely elements like initially where I was like a little bit uncomfortable, I guess, about coming out about it, but now I just feel really comfortable with it. And
I don't think. Do you find much? I would have thought, there's, it's a pretty cool accepted. If anything, it's almost it's not a negative. I can't see it being too much of a negative because everyone's sort of accepting, and there's a lot of vehicles, a lot of queer vehicles that are bloody all over the place doing all amazing stuff and really. And I don't mean that it shouldn't be mainstream, but it's really it's just accepted as just bloody, it's nothing sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there will always, there's still certain things that sometimes people experience, and I'm quite privileged not to have ever experienced anything horrible around my identity,
Which is cool.
Which is amazing, but there will always be people out there that don't accept that, and that's the sad reality. But I surround myself with people that respect me, and so I don't have I'm privileged in the sense that I haven't had to experience that, but I know people do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So along the lines of that, how would you describe your music? You compared to Lord. I saw comparisons to Lord and Florence and the Machine. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think like they're definitely two artists that I've listened to a lot and have taken inspiration from, and they've kind of fascinated me, and they've just got those voices that I guess kind of stand out, and for me that in a really great way. So being compared to them is really lovely, and I definitely think I'm a solo pop artist that I think sings about their experiences in life, and if that connects with people, then I'm happy with that. And I think that like that's what they're kind of doing. So I definitely won't knock the compliment or the comparison, that's for sure.
Is Florence getting to Adelaide in this tour?
Sorry?
Is Florence going to Adelaide in this tour?
I think she's playing at Adelaide, actually.
You're gonna go see?
Well, I'm actually going to be away in the US when she's here, but I did see her, I think, at the end of 2019 at the Botanic Park, which is where Adelaide is held. So I've kind of had the experience, I guess, in a way, but she's always amazing and so impressive live, the way she kind of, demands.
Superstar. Yeah, she is. She's really cool. Why do you think fans resonate with your music? What do you think? What is it about, your performance or your music that, fans give you some feedback on? What do they like about it?
Yeah, I think, for the most part, well, I'd like to think, I sing and write about topics that people go through, or some people go through, and can relate and connect to that in a way that's personal to them. It might not necessarily be the intention of what I was singing about, but if it's up for interpretation at the same time. And I think that's sort of been a connecting factor to fans. And I've received messages and stuff from people before saying this song really touched me in this way or that way, and that's always really lovely to feel like it's hitting the fans in that way sometimes.
Which is cool, which is really cool. So you've got a new single coming out, Breathing Again, or is it out already?
Sorry?
Breathing Again, is that out already? No, it's out.
So it comes out March 3rd.
And the video, you've got a video coming out with it on March 3rd?
Yes.
Tell us a little about that. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I filmed the music video with friends on film, who also do my photos and things like that. And
Cool.
it's just basically it's like one scene of me singing the lyrics and emoting, you know, the emotions, and it sort of chops between like a scene of this amazing contemporary dancer that's sort of dancing in these dilapidated buildings. And I think it sort of gives the idea of like dancing in the rain kind of sense, which is essentially what the song is about. You know, it's about going through hard times, going through bad spurts of mental health, and having a moment where you feel a little lighter. And you know, it might not be a long lasting feeling, but it gives you hope to sort of keep pushing on and hanging in there. And I think that's sort of what this song sort of encapsulates for me, and is the intended sort of meaning behind it.
Drawn from your own experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Just I actually wrote it in Los Angeles last March after I was over there for South by Southwest, and I wrote it with an amazing producer and writer in their own right called Charlie Mcclean, and she was just so gentle in the session with me. And she, you know, I was flying out from actually LA that evening, so we only had like 5 hours to write a song. And I was just quite emotional, and I was really reflective on the trip. And you know, it was the first time I'd played music since the pandemic, and just being in another country and sharing you know, my music with people, it was just a really amazing feeling. And it felt like a breath of fresh air, I think, just being in a totally different environment. And I don't know, I think just not feeling like the heaviness that I sometimes feel back home in Australia, for whatever reasons they are. But yeah, I think it just, yeah, it came about from that sort of, I guess, feeling and tapping into it. And I didn't really have to go in to specifics with her in the session. I was just like, this is what I'm feeling. I kind of want to talk about this. And she just sort of took the idea and like ran with it. And then the writing of it actually came quite quickly after that. Yeah.
Cool. Did you, when you talk about those challenging times, are they, you know, are they like are they normal? In other words, are they around all the time, or is it something you're progressing through? Is it something you're building from? Is it you know, up and down, up and down, up and down? Where do you find that, and how does your music? How many? Obviously, you've written quite a bit of music over the years. How does your music get influenced by it, or is it influenced by it, or just occasionally?
No, yeah, I think definitely is influenced by my mental health, the music I write anyway. It's one of the easiest ways for me to be able to talk about it, I think, and sort of put it in paper, or put it in a form of something, you know, putting it in a song.
A safe way to communicate.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, like mental health for me has been like a pretty big battle since 2014, to be honest. It's always sort of there, and it lingers, and sometimes it ebbs and flows. Like sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not. Definitely there's been situations that have amplified it. And
Sorry, I was just trying.
oh yeah. There we go.
There have been situations that have amplified it.
Yeah, definitely.
Which you've gone.
Yeah, and I'm still sort of healing from them, and I still struggle with I guess the long-term effects of those situations, you know, every single day, to be quite honest. But I am working through it, and yeah, sometimes it's lighter and other times it's not, but right now it's, you know, it's going okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Was it heavily affected by the pandemic, by the couple of years of lockdown and slowdown and everything stopped and no performance and stuff like that?
That's a tough one, because kind of the pandemic for me in a way actually gave me space to sort of take time for me, which was cool. obviously I miss performing and playing, but it was a time where I think we were all sort of really in our heads a little bit because there wasn't much else to do.
No.
But for me, I think when things started to go back to normal, that's when I struggled the most, because I had to start going, socializing again and getting out there. And, I got quite comfortable in my little bubble. And there was something comforting about the fact that like, well, I can't do anything and neither can anyone else. So, and then it was like, okay, we've got to get back working hard again, that sort of thing. So I think there was just like a period of time where, I wasn't necessarily like psyched that things were going back to normal in a way.
Yeah.
Obviously, like really grateful that the world is going back to normal. It would have sucked if it was still going on right now. And I'm really, want to stress I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I think there was just like, stuff going on in my own mind that, I struggled with, but I sort of overcome that and then went overseas and played. So like, and then I was fine. And I think I needed to do that to sort of get myself out of that sort of mental cycle I was in at the time.
How do you find social media relative to it? Because obviously social media is one of these, obviously, what can you say? Depression, I suppose I'm a 64-year-old guy, so I've dealt with it over the course of time and, done a lot of philosophizing and psychologizing and all that sort of gear to get to some, beliefs and outcomes and, manage it pretty well. But depression for me is like a color. It's one color in the day.
Yeah.
And if it's one of your 100 colors being present, it's not much of an issue. When it becomes the color, it becomes a bit of an issue. And obviously social media is the sort of thing where, the mind can quite easily say, I'm not good enough by virtue of the fact that you see someone with more, or you see this, or, you started with someone 2 years ago and they're here and you're here, or put something out that's great and it didn't get the response you thought and you really put a lot of time into it. So there's a lot of ways that social media can, encourage your mind to say, I'm not good enough, or give yourself a reason to sort of pull yourself up. How do you find social media in that sort of
yeah, totally. I really like the way, I just really like the way you explained, when it becomes one color, that's when it gets concerning. That's definitely something that I resonate with and agree with there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But yeah, social media, I mean, it's weird. It's a weird place to be, but it's a place you have to sort of be a part of as an artist these days. You kind of can't exist as a musician without it. I mean, unless you've already like made it to a certain point before social media became really prevalent, but I think it's more prevalent than ever at the moment with like things like TikTok.
Especially TikTok, everyone
but it's
like want you to create TikTok because it's the future.
Absolutely.
Music really, au fait with it. They're not over the moon about that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard because I definitely see the benefit as an artist to have social media and to utilize it. It is a really great way to be discovered. But it is, we've already got to write songs. Most of us manage ourselves. Most of us book ourselves, like it's hard. You're a content creator, you're a manager, you're a booker, you're your own accountant, you're your own travel agent, like you're your own tour manager. So it's a lot to like uphold all of those things at a very good standard. As well as like constantly being on social media. That's something I kind of struggle with. I do a little bit of TikToking and things like that, but it's just not something I want to spend my spare time, doing all the time. But I understand the benefits of utilizing, the platform. So, but definitely like, you only see the best of people's lives for the most part on social media.
Yeah,
So of course, it's so easy to make comparisons to your own.
You know, that's the problem. The problem we have with it, in my view, is we don't normalize it. It's just a normal thing. Depression, in fact, in my view, it's like I'm the analogy king, by the way. But it's like for me, it's like you know, even if you're moving to a palace, you know, the move of, you know, creating boxes and changing and getting trucks and lifting, and, you know, the week or two or month that it takes you to, you know, move countries and all this sort of stuff, it's terrible. But you're going to a place that's a palace, or you're going overseas to change your life, or you're going to meet someone or whatever. So depression for me is usually a transition. It's sort of moving you from one place to another place.
Yeah.
And if you're, you know, allowing yourself, the Taoists say, let life take you where it takes you. If you allow yourself to just let life take you where it takes you, rather than you place all this emphasis on taking yourself somewhere, it's a lot easier, and you don't have to sort of align, you know, with the outcomes as being, you know, you end up living, like they say, live in the moment. You end up, you know, living here, not living there or there, you know, all this sort of stuff, or not living, you know, you love here. There's here, and you get to love here, or you get to not love here, but you get to feel here. So the feeling is the authentic. It's like singing. You know, sing in front of one person or no people, or a million people. Your business manager is going to prefer the million people. For you, it doesn't matter. You're singing, and, you know, you're doing your thing. So that's the same as life. In life, you're writing your book.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't align with other people's pages means nothing.
Yeah.
But you don't know that, because you know, you go through an ABC development. A is better than C, and that's how we're born, and that's how we go to school, and that's how we go to work and get a better job and get a better, you know, you're too fat and you're this and that. There's always somewhere better than where you are.
Yeah.
There's only ever where you are. So it's really a matter of just getting comfortable with where you are. And once you can practice and do that, well, then when it turns up, it's like a moment that you understand what you know, what you're going to do with.
Definitely.
But it's really, it's a really, in my view, and I'll shut up because it's your interview, but in my view, it's really a creative space, because once you're just happy with here and your mind's not all over the place, well, then you can just focus on here. And so if here's uncomfortable, well, then you write about uncomfortable with a smile on your face. Rather than with a frown, as if you want to be somewhere else because you don't like uncomfortable. You start to understand that uncomfortable is just the same as comfortable. It's just that you haven't accepted it.
Absolutely.
It's in the acceptance sort of process where all the drama is. You know, the fact that you're rejecting it and you're trying to get away from it. And so social media, I mean, who about social media to some, you know, it's a part of business. It's a part of business, but observance, that's where you should live, in this observant spot rather than in this reactive, measured place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this new song, how does it relate to that experience? Where were you when you were writing it, and what were you trying to express from it?
I was I was in LA and I wrote it in LA at Kobalt Studios with Charlie.
That's right. But what were you in, from your perspective, what was taking place? What were you hopeful of, you know, getting across to people?
I think what I was hopeful of getting across to people was just, you know, that things feel heavy sometimes, but remember that there's still those moments. Well, I mean, for me at this point in time, there was just this moment of sort of clarity, and I just, without forcing it or really trying, I just felt better. You know, I just did, and that gives me hope. And if everyone can just have a moment, it might be like something as simple as eating a good bowl of pasta, or catching up with a friend for 5 minutes, having a phone call. I don't know, whatever it is, but sometimes I feel like we experience these little moments where we can sort of hold on to hope that it might get better because you just experienced that, and I'm like I said, my mental health is like, I can push on and I can keep going, but it's there, like it is so heavy here, for like 90% of the time. But like
It's so heavy. It's so heavy for 90% of the time now.
well, it's very situational, and it's like something I am not ready to talk about as to
That's
why.
all right. No.
So, but yeah, like especially I have a lot of anxiety for reasons around releasing music and putting music out, and because of basically like some bullying on social media, like that's
Which
sort of
is renowned for,
yeah. And
all
so every time I go into a release cycle, I get like a little bit, I get plucked, like my feelings get plucked, and I just sort of ricocheted in between, like, oh yeah, I can do this, to, oh, I just want to hide away and like not exist, like to the internet, and like just I wish I didn't want to do music as much as I do, because sometimes I just, I wish I could just walk away from it, to be honest. But at the end of the day, like I've come this far, I've persevered, and I've not let, and I've not, sorry, bad English, I've not let the people that have made me feel this way take that away from me, because music is
It's yours. It's not theirs. They're like catalysts for that feeling. But they really don't exist. They only exist in your story because you need them to get through your story. These are, Tolly talks about in his book Eckhart about, getting to the end of your suffering. So someone says, I'm suffering. He says, great, because, you've got to be suffering until you get to the end of it. That's where the change comes. When you get to the end of it, that's where you learn. The Mandela moment, where you accept prison and all of a sudden it changes. It's not a prison anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool place. If I can just give some feedback, I always think that, I think people go from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence to unconscious competence. So I think that you're on the way by virtue of the fact that you're experiencing it, you're writing about it, you're singing about it, and you're dealing with it, regardless of whether it's 90% or 80% or 10%, or some days it's this, some days it's that. You're sort of practicing tennis. You can't get better at golf off the course.
Yeah, you sort of grow around it,
You're on the course. So, I would encourage you to just stay on the course, and, that'll change, because it always does. And people will come along and you can talk to them, and, whether they're counsellors or friends or whatever the situation is, everyone's got a story, and it'll change. It'll change because ultimately you're on that path. So, that's cool. Is there to move from it, so that we don't, go places we shouldn't go, because I'm not interested in, I'm not a psychologist, and I don't want to turn this into a counselling session, for God's sake, But I mean, it's a very, the one thing about it from my perspective, just before I do go on, it's just a common thing. It's in everyone's life. Every single person on the planet has depression. Every single person. There's not a person without it, in my view. But it's just a different color, and for some people they don't notice it because they're present and they see lots of stuff and they deal with everything, and I called those moments before I was calling them fuck moments. It's like you come off somewhere and you go, oh fuck, and you're surprised, oh fuck. So you have these all day long, and the world's set up for it, And so once you start to go down there and experience those more and more, they start to replace those dark times, in my experience. All right, to get back to the music, is there an EP or an album on the way?
Yes, so I've just finished my entire EP, and so that'll be coming out later this year, sort of, around July-ish, but can't say an exact date just yet.
Yeah.
be in the next press release.
Okay, and an album?
An album will be probably the next thing I'll be working towards. So I'm just starting writing already for the next sort of body of work. So yeah, that'll be on the cards down the track probably next year sometime. But this year it'll just be the EP and the singles off the EP.
I'm sure we're all
Yeah.
going to hold our breath and wait to catch that. When do you head over to the States?
I leave next Saturday, so I release the song comes out on Friday, and I'm on a flight at 6 a.m. the next day. So
I applaud your courageousness, because again, a lot of people just sit there and sort of hide, and it looks like you're jumping out there and taking on all these different experiences. So well done.
I appreciate it.
Pretty courageous to go over the States. New Colossus Festival in New York, yeah?
Yeah. So that's our first stop, and then so we get into LA, then we fly to New York, and we're there for a few days, play 2 shows, and then we head to Austin in Texas to play South by, and we're there for a week.
Yeah.
I think we have something like 8 showcases in 5 days, so it's going to be a busy time.
Fantastic. Who organised that? Did you organise that, or did you organise that through someone?
Yeah, so I actually toured the US for about 3 months towards the end of last year, actually. So I've only been back for about 3 months by the time I leave. And I applied for South by Southwest and got accepted while I was over there last year. So I sort of put plans into works to come back and tour, and I've got a visa. I went through the visa process.
How did you find the 3 months last year?
Sorry?
How did you find the 3 months?
Yeah, it was a really long time. I don't know if I would go there for 3 months, just again for that
Were you
long.
traveling with someone, or were you traveling on your own?
I have my 2 sessional players that play drums and guitar for me, and they've played drums and guitar for me since I started. So they're really good friends of mine as well. So definitely wasn't short of good company, and it was nice to have sort of people that got your back and you're really close with as your support network while you're there. So I was really lucky for that, and had some great people helping me out, also booking the shows and stuff that I met at South by Southwest last year, sort of with the intention of getting my visa to come back and do exactly what I did. So I'm really lucky and grateful. It's obviously a bit brutal in the US at the moment in terms of like the exchange rate. And so this time, we're only going over for 6 weeks, which is still obviously a really long time, and very lucky to see so much of. I think we played in like 14 states in last year, and this time we've just got 10 tour dates and like 8 shows at South by Southwest as part of the festival, so it'll be busy.
Where did you like best when you were over there for 3 months?
Well, my favorite show I think was in New York City. We played Rockwood Music Hall we were on tour with a band called Night Spins, and they're really amazing people and really fun sort of pop rock.
New Yorkers,
and that was their hometown, so they had a really great pool, which obviously very grateful because I got to play to a good crowd at a very cool time. So love New York. It's an exhausting city though. And then I also spent a lot of time actually in Richmond in Virginia near DC because we had people we knew there and sort of could put us up in between like our tour runs. So it was just like I kind of fell in love with the place because I knew people there and made a lot of friends and stuff. So
completely different to New York. But that's cool. They're cool experiences, man. Well done. Keep adventuring through there. That's great stuff. You're talking about touring. If you could perform with any music artist, alive or dead, who would you choose and why?
Probably Bon Iver, because I love like his song Stacks.
Yeah, he was
Or
just out too.
yeah, he's playing Womb Adelaide as well, which is very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Kind of I mean, like I've loved this. I don't know, you might not be a fan, but actually a diehard fan of Taylor Swift still to this day. So I would,
Cool.
I wouldn't complain opening up her, arena shows.
Shows you something about the record industry, though, when she's probably the biggest artist in the world and she's got to come out and change the way that she sells her music so she gets a reasonable return.
Yeah,
Buying,
yeah,
all the stuff that
definitely.
she's buying. So, but
Yeah,
I think she's cool too. I think, the one thing about social media with YouTube and all these shorts and all this sort of stuff is you get to know people a little bit better because they go on and they start talking about different things. And you never used to get that. And you used to draw conclusions about people on the basis of they were stuffy or they had their head up their bum or something, you thought. But once you
yeah,
start talking to them, you start seeing them and they start saying stuff, at interviews and stuff like that, you start saying they're pretty normal.
yeah,
Pretty normal people. And I think she's one of those.
yeah.
I think she's pretty
I
cool.
think I think like sometimes, especially people that are as global superstar level as that, people forget they're real human beings under that facade, and there's a person that feels things deeply just like we all do. So yeah, I think
And they take over. Her album comes out and it becomes blah, and it takes over, and it takes 5 spots on the top 10, not one, and all this sort of stuff. So
yeah,
they've got a big following
yes, very much.
everywhere.
Yeah.
What are your long-term aspirations as a music artist?
I think just to be able to, it would be nice to have a bit of financial stability from from doing it as a career. Um, that's one, but I mean, just to be able to play, shows everywhere and see the world doing something I love, writing or meeting heroes because of career success, things like that, being able to just connect with people, I think, really. And um like obviously I want to take it as far as I absolutely can, um pending the industry and the people that consume it allow it. So
Well, I
yeah.
think I'm a big believer in you can do whatever you want to do. You've just got to create a plan around it. I'd say, don't brutalize me with the tyranny of the or, help me embrace the genius of the and, because basically you can do everything you want to do. You just got to have a plan around it. And then you've got to have the balls to be able to go and ask people for different things and present yourself in such a way that you price yourself effectively, because a lot of people underprice themselves and they don't want to sell this and they don't want to ask for too much and they don't want to do this and all that. And we're trying to make everyone else feel okay, when
Yeah.
really, it's in our head. It's all these barriers of things that we're crawling over that no one else sees. It's a hurdle that you're jumping. No one even sees the bloody fence. They don't see anything. And so if we get rid of all that stuff, you'll be able to do whatever you want to do and use all your collaborations. As a youngster, in my view, you get mentors. You find people that you can have as mentors, because consistently they're people you can ask questions of that you trust, that can give you feedback and they can ask you questions. And understanding your core values is something that most people don't put any time or effort into. And so they haven't got a plan that relates to their body. They've got a plan that relates to their head. Oh yeah, this looks like the right thing, and it doesn't realize if I only make money, it'll all be better, and they make money and it's not better. So I've got to get a better partner, I've got to get a better car, I've got to get a better house, and it never fixes anything because it's not tied into actually who they are and what they're about, because they haven't spent any time doing that. So keep doing what you're doing, because it sounds like you're doing it well. With that in mind, what advice would you give to anyone starting? You've been around now for 10, 7, 8 years, whatever, playing around and all that. What advice would you give to someone that's just turning up today and starting to become a Paige or a Main?
Yeah, I think just sort of lean into any like people that share similar interests, like learn, read, like listen, watch interviews like of artists you love, to see what they did. Like, just also be a good person. Like, don't be an asshole, I think is pretty key to that as well. And if you do make mistakes, say sorry. Like, don't and just keep, I guess, beat to your own drum as well. Don't sort of do what you think people want you to do, as in, you know, in terms of your artistic direction, just because there'll be a time where what you're doing is what people want to consume. So
absolutely, that's what I was saying to you. There'll be a time when all of what you're after will come along.
Yeah.
All you've got to do is allow it. Half the time we put those barriers up ourselves. Just allow it. Just keep it coming in. Lie on your back and float down the river. Do your stuff. Wake up, do your stuff, and it'll happen. Well done. That's good advice. Especially being nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Karma. That's good stuff. What's the best thing about performing to a live audience?
Just like, I love it. So performing to me is like the tip of the iceberg. You know, all the stuff I do behind the scenes leads to that moment, and that's my favorite moment, is playing. So I think my most favorite part about it is just being able to sort of have this really cathartic release of singing the songs and like really being in the songs and feeling it. Obviously, sometimes if you're playing like 10 shows in a row, maybe like 5 of them you're not in it as much, but it's still really enjoyable. And I mean, like, definitely back in 2018, my single at the time was being played on like Triple J a fair bit. So I'd go to festivals or shows and people would be singing my lyrics back at me. And that's a pretty cool feeling as well.
Terrific.
But yeah, I think just being able to perform is like the tip of the iceberg as far as like all the things you do lead to that point. It's kind of like the best part.
I can imagine you're sitting there. Dua Lipa said something the other day about, or I saw something in a short about the fact that she'd forgotten the words to the song, and everyone in the audience knew the words to the song, and they're all mouthing the words to the song, and she's trying to look at them and from their mouthing the words, trying to find out what their words were so they can pull it back in. So, but that would be cool, wouldn't it? Imagine a Freddie Mercury, you know, Live Aid moment or something rather, or a Wembley moment where they've got just a massive crowd that's moving all over the place, or a Star Is Born moment, you know, where some dude pulls you on and you sing your song and everyone gets it, and you know, you just, you know, I could imagine for non-music people, I suppose that's the closest that we sort of experience what it might be like for someone to go and, you know, perform on stage. You know, that Freddie Mercury thing must do your head in. But I've also spoken to guys that I know that have done like stadium tours and stuff like that. They've said their best show they've ever done was for a 25-seater on the way from one US town to another. They did a show in some little bar or something like that. Night, and they had the best experience, and that was the thing that they told me was the best show that they can remember. And
I mean, definitely sometimes the more intimate the show is, the more special it can be, especially if you're used to playing arenas.
Yeah, well, you know,
would be a nice change of pace.
Isn't that sort of brings you down to that meditative place, you know, where we're all connected at that place, and if we can connect at that place, that's pretty much zen. What's been the career highlight so far? Almost at the end, almost wrapping up.
Yeah, hell good. I think career highlight so far would probably be the Matt Corby tour, I would say, and also the US tour last year, because it was definitely like the first sort of experience of like proper international touring. So
I really like Matt. Matt's a star. He's so talented, and he's, you know, and he's like, he doesn't come across as anything ostentatious or anything like that.
No, he just sort of does his thing.
Loves the music. Yeah, loves the music. Produces great music. Yeah, I really like him. Sorry, you probably.
No, I agree.
Okay, now here's a few questions for some quick answers. Yeah, people hate these sort of questions, but I'm sure you'll be fine. Okay, favorite album. And it can be of all time, or it can be.
I'm so bad. Oh, what am I listening to right now? Let me get. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible
Don't
when
be
it
sorry
comes
about
to.
anything. Never be sorry about anything if you're having an interview with us, because the interview is really about you. It's not about me, even though I talk a lot.
Oh goodness me. Favorite album. That's tough. Uh oh, I mean,
Oh, let's start with favorite artists.
let me think of it. I'll think of that. Favorite artist. Oh, I think Florence and the Machine, definitely for that one.
Florence. Yeah,
Yeah.
superstar. Favorite movie.
Favorite movie. The first thing that comes to my mind is actually a movie I watched nonstop when I was like early high school, which is called She's the Man. It was just like a good, solid,
Yeah.
rom-com sort of movie.
Can you just hold on one sec?
No problem.
Beck. It's all right. No,
Oh,
got a
good.
call back. Got a call back. It's all right. I just wanted to know. Everyone's been trying to call. I
That's
just
all.
wanted to make sure there was nothing urgent going on. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Uh, she's the man.
Well, I mean, that's just the first thing that come to my head. There's plenty. I love watching movies. I just couldn't. That was just sort of the first one that popped into my mind as you asked the question. But I mean, um, I also love like a lot of sort of thrillers movies that keep you guessing, like who's the bad guy or
Yeah.
sort of genres.
Are you a Potter or a Marvel, or you get into those long drawn out series of stuff?
Um, I actually really like series that are just it's like a mini series. So it's like one season and the story is summed up within like 8 episodes. So I watched one called Red Rose the other day. Well, I finished it last night actually, and it's like a UK show, and it's the similar sort of like keep you guessing,
You'd
a
recommend
little
it.
bit dark, like, but I don't know. I just like,
You'd
yeah, I like
recommend it.
thriller mysteries. Yeah, I think so.
All
I
right.
mean, it's pretty like, I feel like there's underlying tones of like why social media is bad in the whole series, and I don't know, it's like a bit dark and twisted and like
Yeah.
thriller mystery, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Like it kept me really engaged the whole time.
Favorite place to visit?
Um, oh, I love actually going to Kangaroo Island in South Australia. So it's just like a little ferry ride off the mainland to Kangaroo Island, and like my best friend has like a little slab of land there with where we just camp and I don't know, unwind, and I really can switch off.
You don't smoke, do you?
I've actually just quit. I've quit for 2 weeks now. That's my plan.
Well
I
done.
feel pretty strong about it. I just decided, I was like, that's
Enough.
enough now. I started smoking at the end of 2019, and I was like, well,
Don't smoke. Don't smoke.
don't need to keep going with this one now.
Favorite food?
Um, Pasta, like hands down.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Any particular, like, is it a lasagna? Is it a bloody spaghetti? Is it a what sort of, or all?
Yeah, just sort of any pasta. I mean, definitely like tomato based is my over like creamy or anything
Yeah.
like that. Loves chili, like really spicy food. So
You put
spicy
Parmesan cheese
pasta.
on like it, just
Yes.
by the bucket load.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
usually
Yeah, about
if the
50%.
top came off and all of it came out, and someone else said, "Oh, that's terrible," I'd say, "What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is
That's
the
why I
best
like it."
thing. Yeah.
Favorite drink?
Favorite drink, I probably just coffee.
Oh,
Coffee or water. I
I
drink so much water.
love coffee. I love
Yeah.
coffee. I'm a coffee file. Favorite person in history?
Oh, favorite person in history. Um, Martin Luther King, loved the movie
Yeah.
about his story and journey.
Yeah. You know, when you think about battles and you think about some of those guys and what they had to deal with in terms of a battle,
Yeah.
you know, it's
puts things
amazing.
into perspective.
Put things into perspective, and that's what you need every time you go to those dark places. Perspective, because basically, if you think about some of these people living in bloody Ukraine and all this sort of gear, a lot of what we deal with is pretty. Anyhow, favorite tattoo. You have a
Favorite.
tattoo.
Yes, I have multiple.
I noticed.
I have
What's
lots
on the finger? What's on the fingers?
So I just have, it's just like little planets and
That's
like
cool.
kind of dots and things like that. And
When you were younger, or is this all recent stuff?
this was probably like 2018 doings. I just wanted finger tattoos. I haven't had a tattoo in so long now, but like as soon as I was old enough to get them, I just was like a doodle pad. Like I was like, yep. So I've got random tattoos everywhere on my arms. And yeah, so hence the hand tattoos, which these are probably my favorite though. Yeah. And I like this one because I don't know, this is just, it might sound a little bit cheesy, but it's just a reminder to keep moving forward for me.
Perfect. That's perfect. And that's all you need to do. All you need to do is just keep on reminding, keep on putting yourself in that place. We're basically at the end. What do you want if someone came along to Maine and you wanted them to listen to one song that started their journey or that gave them a connection, would it be the latest one?
Yeah, I think I mean, well, right now it would probably be the new single coming out on March 3rd, Breathing Again, just because that's sort of, I guess, where I'm at in terms of style. But if they wanted to go back, I would probably recommend like my first sort of single that started to do well, which was Chasing Butterflies, because I think it, and then listen to where I'm at now, because
cool.
It kind of show the maturity and the growth. Yeah.
And they can catch you in Australia when?
Well, I should have some tour dates announced towards the end of this year. So
okay, so they can see you towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And they'll see you around you know, if they follow you, they can follow you in what's taking place over in the States and all that. And I'm sure you'll pump your social media with the different experiences you have over there.
Absolutely.
What do you want to do? You want to leave us with anything? Do you want to, you know, give us some pearls of wisdom, or say I'm being held hostage? Quick. There's a guy here. You can't see him, but he's tied my leg to the table.
Yeah. No words of wisdom. I think I don't know. I think I hope people enjoy my music and are doing okay out there, basically.
Yeah, I think that you know, just a lot of life's about just acceptance. You know, no thought. Drop thought, because thought's just useless most of the time, unless you lead it. If you lead it, fine. But if it leads you, just forget about it, because it's of no value. Because it just does stuff that holds you back. If anything's holding you back, it's your life. You've got control of every moment. So try and put yourself wherever you want to put yourself, and just be prepared that when Indiana Jones is in the bloody, you know, in the jungle, he gets spiders and snakes and brushes them off and goes into the next day, because he wants the adventure. So if you want the adventure, that all comes with it.
Yeah, that's very true.
So and like you're doing, reach out, tell people, tell everyone what's going on, and as if it's your world, because basically it all becomes normalized, and then it's just another thing, and you know, it just softens rather than becomes hard.
Yeah, I think you know, you can grow around your grieves and stuff. You know, it doesn't necessarily get smaller, but the room around it gets bigger.
Yeah, well, it's not there. I mean, it's only there in your perception, because basically, you know, it's one of those situations. It's hard to talk about because everyone has a different experience and believes in different things and is at different parts of the journey and all that sort of stuff. But you know, there's plenty of stuff that you can align with and listen to and all that sort of gear, which is really new age, you know, really cool sort of stuff. There's a lot of podcasts and all that sort of gear. I encourage people to sort of just become a part of, because life's fantastic. It's not without challenges. Pain's inevitable. Suffering's optional. So don't suffer over it. Anyhow, it's been really great talking. If anyone's listening, you know, eventually we're going to do this a bit better with a microphone and all that sort of stuff. I'm sort of just starting this thing out. Eventually will be worth following and subscribing and all that sort of stuff. So if you feel like it, follow and subscribe. And, you know, we'll bring out more of these interviews. For you, thanks for the interview.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Keep adventuring, and it sounds very cool, man. Very, very, very right. Didn't sound like any of that was wrong at all, or I won't be calling anyone anytime soon to come and break through the roof. You feel like you're doing well, dude. It's really cool. So keep that up. And I look forward to seeing what happens over in the States.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Make a few new relationships. Ask a few questions that you wouldn't normally ask, and put yourself in, you know, in some, you know, you can send me a message in a month to say you're playing, you know, some New York festival with, you know, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
All right, dude. Thank you much. Thanks very much for the chat. Appreciate it. Sorry it went for so long. I'll send
I don't mind.
share the video, because
absolutely do. Yeah.
Basically, the more people that know who you are and what you're about, the more you don't have to worry about, you know, only putting out bits and pieces that seem right. Just fucking put the light in. I want all of it.
I'll definitely share it.
Good on you. Congrats. And I look forward to keep in touch. And when you need some promo, yell out and we'll be helping provide it.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.